At 1:43 a.m., on a rural highway outside Ashford County, a truck driver stopped for someone who needed help. Before the night was over, that decision would stay with him for the rest of his life. Stay with this one. This is the Dark Highway Files. You know the stretch. Every long-haul driver does. That two-lane cut of blacktop that snakes past the old mill outside of Ashford County. No street lights, no houses. Just the skeleton of the mill against the tree line and whatever your headlights decide to show you. Mason Grady had run that road for 17 years. He wasn't jumpy, wasn't new. He'd seen overturned cattle trailers, deer explode through windshields, a guy once walking barefoot in January claiming he'd lost a bet. Highways collect stories the way ditches collect rainwater, but this one stuck. It was 1:43 a.m., according to the soft green glow of his dash. The CB was quiet except for distant static. His trailer was light, empty pallets heading back north, and the engine's hum had settled into that steady lull that makes a man think about coffee or old regrets. That's when he saw the hazards. Half a mile before the mill. Blink. Pause. Blink. A white sedan sat crooked on the shoulder, nose angled toward the tree line. Front end crumpled just enough to say it had kissed something solid. No smoke, no steam. Just those lights pulsing in the dark like a mechanical heartbeat. Mason slowed automatically. He scanned for movement. Nobody outside the car. He eased past it, rolling slow enough to read the plate in case he needed to call it in. He glanced in his mirror. Still, just the blinking. He considered stopping, but the shoulder was narrow and there was no sign of anyone hurt. A lot of folks these days called 911 before they even unbuckled their seatbelts. He rolled on, and that's when he saw her. Walking, about half a mile ahead, on the right shoulder, like she'd just stepped out of a driveway that didn't exist. Oh, Mason eased off the throttle. She looked mid-20s. Dark hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. Jeans, a gray hoodie. One sneaker noticeably scuffed. No blood, no frantic waving, just walking. He pulled onto the shoulder ahead of her and set his hazards. She stopped a few feet from his passenger door and looked up into the cab lights. Her face wasn't panicked. It wasn't blank either. It was composed. "You okay?" Mason called down. "I'm fine," she said. Her voice carried clearly, normal. "I tried calling 911. I don't know if it went through. My phone's been acting weird." "You come from that white sedan back there?" She nodded. "Yeah, I must have drifted. I'm stupid tired." She glanced back down the dark stretch of road like she'd misplaced something. "You sure you're fine?" "I'm okay," she repeated. She glanced over her shoulder into the dark stretch of a highway. "I just don't want to be out here by myself." "Where you headed?" She hesitated. "I don't know," she admitted. "I tried calling 911. I think it rang. I called my mom too. She'll probably meet me at County General." Mason studied her a second longer. "If you're not sure it went through, somebody'll call it in when they see the car," he said. "That road doesn't stay empty long." She nodded, like that made sense, even if she hadn't thought it through. He hesitated. "I can give you a lift," he said, "save you waiting." She considered it like someone weighing politeness against practicality. "Yeah," she said finally. "Okay, thank you." She climbed in. The cab dipped slightly with her weight. She buckled her seatbelt without being told. He pulled back onto the road. Up close, she looked even more ordinary. A faint freckle near her left cheek. Slight dark circles under her eyes like she'd been studying too late or working double shifts. "What's your name?" he asked. "Aaron." Mason. Thank you, Mason. No problem. She pulled her phone from her hoodie pocket. The screen lit up. 1:51 a.m. She tapped a contact. Mom? She said when the call connected. A pause. I'm okay, I promise. Yeah, I know. I already called 911. A trucker's given me a ride to County General so I don't have to stand out here. Another pause. No, he's nice, she added, glancing at Mason with the faintest apologetic smile. I'll see you there. Love you. She hung up. Mason felt something loosen in his chest. That was real. You don't fake a call like that. You shook up? He asked. A little. She stared out the windshield. It happened fast. 1 second I was fine. Next second, I don't know. I remember the tree. I remember thinking I should have stopped for coffee. You hit your head? I don't think so. They drove. The old mill slid past on their left, its broken windows catching the headlights and throwing them back like dull eyes. Does it look bad? She asked. The car? Yeah. Front's messed up, he said honestly, but I've seen worse. She nodded slowly. I was supposed to be home tomorrow, she murmured. My brother's birthday. They rode the rest of the way, talking about small things. Her job at a dental office, his daughter in community college, gas prices, construction on Route 8. Nothing strange, nothing theatrical, just two people on a dark road passing time. County General came into view 20 minutes later, fluorescent lights, ambulance bay glowing sterile white. An ambulance was already backed in under the awning, rear doors open. EMTs moved in tight, practice motions around a stretcher. Mason slowed. You want me to pull into the bay? He asked. Erin leaned forward, looking past the windshield. No, she said quickly. Too quickly. Not there, just up front. I don't like ambulances. He nodded and pulled instead toward the main emergency entrance. You want me to walk you in? He asked. I'll be fine. She unbuckled. Thank you, really. She opened the passenger door. Cold air spilled in. She stepped down, closed the door. Mason watched her walk toward the sliding glass entrance. A woman burst out from inside at that exact moment. Mid-50s. Wild eyes. Phone clutched tight. Erin! The woman screamed. Mason blinked. The space between the truck and the entrance was empty. No gray hoodie, no ponytail, just wet pavement under fluorescent light. The woman looked straight through where Erin had been standing. She staggered, nearly falling. A nurse caught her. Mason threw open his door and climbed down. Ma'am? He called. She was just right here. The woman stared at him like he'd spoken another language. My daughter was in an accident, she said, voice breaking. They said A paramedic stepped outside then, removing his gloves slowly. You family of Erin Halpern? He asked gently. The woman nodded. I'm sorry, he said. She didn't make it. Impact trauma. It was instant. Mason felt the air leave his lungs. That's not right, he said. I just drove her here. The paramedic's expression didn't change. The paramedic looked at him carefully. Sir, he said, voice low and steady. We did everything we could in the ambulance. She never regained consciousness. Mason shook his head. She called her mom from my cab. The mother's face drained. My phone rang, she whispered. It was her number. I answered. Silence settled heavy and clinical. Who was on the line? The nurse asked. The mother swallowed. No one, she said. I could hear breathing and road noise. I kept saying her name. Mason turned slowly toward his truck. The passenger seat was empty, but the fabric was indented, like someone had been sitting there and on the rubber floor mat. A faint smear of dirt, shaped like the sole of a sneaker. Outside, somewhere back down that dark stretch by the old mill, Hazards were still blinking. Blink, pause, blink. Like a heartbeat that hadn't realized it had already stopped.